I have three things working against me. Female founded, female focused apparel. Like those are three things that no one should want when they're going out to fundraise.
Right.
You have to tell me no, and you have to tell me no multiple times. I've had people tell me no that 5 years later invested. I'm pretty like maniacal in that way, maybe.
So on that point, I don't know if you will remember this. You and I were having a conversation about different investors that you had spoken with, and you said something which stuck with me. And you said, Tina, I don't hear no. And I love that. That is grit. I want to understand where that comes from, Sally. Welcome to There Is No Alternative, a podcast about entrepreneurship, where I talk to founders, investors, and experts in the consumer world. I'm Tina Bou-Saba, founder of CXT Investments, where I invest in consumer brands and technology. Today, we are joined by my friend Sali Christeson, founder of women's workwear brand Argent. Sally is one of the most tenacious, driven, entrepreneurial, and visionary founders that I know. I knew I had to have her on the podcast. She truly lives and breathes the there is no alternative energy that I am exploring in these episodes. We have so much to discuss. Hi, Sally.
Hi, Tina. What an intro.
So great to have you. Thank you. I have been so excited for this episode.
Same. Well, I would do anything for you. We're going on a decade of knowing each other, and you're one of my absolute favorites. So I'm very honored to be here.
The feeling is entirely mutual. I can't believe that it has been almost a decade, but you're exactly right. Wow. Okay. So let's get going. Let's start with this. A warm-up question. What is your hype song?
Unstoppable by Sia.
Oh, that's a great one.
You listen to that one?
Okay, I love that song.
Great.
That's great. I love Sia.
Same. Sia's got some bangers. Imagine Dragons also gets me.
So good. Okay, love it. So let's get started talking about your story in founding Argent. So when did you first start thinking about it?
I'm the consumer of what we're building, so I feel like I have been thinking about this opportunity more from the consumer lens since college. So, started then just complaining about the experience of shopping for workwear. And it was pretty obvious to me that women and professionalism just weren't even really being considered. And fast forward through working in banking, through grad school, through working in tech, about a decade across different industries, different cities. In 2015, I read a study that showed that women are judged based on what they wear. And I was actively avoiding starting this company, even though I was incredibly frustrated by the fact that it was a pain point of mine and so many women that I knew. But this study, I think, was the catalyst for me to just quit my job and go for it with the mindset of like, what's the worst that could happen? I'll learn from it. I can always re-enter corporate America. But the best outcome and what I envisioned was introducing a product that was versatile and stylish and quality and functional and catered to working women across all industries and allowed women to like have a one-stop shop for workwear. And on the brand and mission side, it was really about removing barriers for women and how do we leverage the power of brand to storytell what power looks like, to celebrate women that I was seeing day in, day out in, my day-to-day, and use the platform to really drive change and encourage women to just go for it. And fast forward 10 years. So I quit my job in 2015, cold turkey, had done nothing, launched in 2016, and now it's been 10 years this year.
Wow. Okay. I mean, so much to discuss. I'm curious, were you always entrepreneurial? What were you like as a kid?
I was born to build companies. I'm an entrepreneur to my core. All I ever wanted to do was work. My biggest goal in life at the age of 5 was to own a stapler and have a desk and have have things to do, I started selling. My dad was reminding me of this the other day. I used to go to work with him and I'd set up a lemonade stand. I'd also sell like hand painted piggy banks. I would sell handmade horseshoe picture frames, literally any and everything. And I was so eager to just be in business.
I love that. Okay, so you decided to start Argent about 10 years ago. Tell us about the early days. How did you get going?
It's funny. That's the question I get asked a lot by founders is like, how do you even know where to start? How do you know what to prioritize, et cetera? So I was coming from a job that was so intense and I got no sleep. And so for me, it was not, let me do what I can after hours for work. It was like, I'm going to quit. I'm going to go all in on this idea.
Mhm,
I was coming from a place with a lot of structure. And
mhm.
so I like tried to implement some structure and set up standing meetings and sort of force progress. I also just started meeting with any and everyone, and I took the opportunity to just learn about the white space, competitive landscape, all the things. I looked at a business plan template, got an idea of like all the things that I needed to consider, and then mentally mapped out the steps I felt like I needed to go in order to launch this. Found a creative counterpart because I felt like that was something that was really necessary addressing this opportunity. Eventually, that informed a financial model that really, as you know, is like the business plan. So I think that took about 6 months to put together. It took 1 year to launch. There's a lot that happened in between, but it was just like hustle and grit and like forcing myself to just make progress and realize the vision.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have hustle and grit in spades, which was abundantly clear from the first time that I met you. So really, really amazing. So tell us about the launch because I think you made some unique and differentiated decisions in terms of how the business launched. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So being that I am the consumer, the thing that was very popular at the time were these women's conferences. And I thought, I know who our consumer is. She's time constrained. She's working. She hardly ever has time in her schedule. And so I really got excited by the idea to take advantage of these conferences that were happening across the country and leveraging the fact that like there are about 6,000 women that are going to these conferences. Let's pick one. Let's create an elevated shopping experience. Let's pop up at the conference alongside the Pfizer, Target, and Cisco booth. And let's sell there and see if what we are launching resonates. That was day one of business. Did we make too much product? Yes. Did we have 2 U-Hauls there full of product? Yes. Did we have like 10 people trying to man the store? Yes. Was it my favorite day in Argent's history? For sure. It was so fun. It was absolutely incredible to be able to just test out your product at that volume, at that stage. And I think it was just sort of validation that women very much are like, it matched my own experience, but they're desperate for something as simple as pockets in their clothes, but novelty and like style and something that just excited them. And we sold like 30,000 in that first day, which is
Wow.
so much. I mean, that's a lot of
Mhm.
product for day one of business.
Yeah, it's amazing. I will definitely give a shout out to the functionality. I love Argent. This yellow blazer is Argent. I love all the different pockets and like why was that so hard? But it was, and so it's the functionality is amazing. So
Thank
much
you.
thoughtfulness in terms of how y'all have designed things.
Totally. And what I'll say is, and I think this is obvious, like as most industries, as you move up in fashion, senior leadership almost entirely male. And so
Yeah.
the fact that men are making decisions about what women are or should be wearing and what they want is so broken. But I don't think it's shocking. I think it explains why the landscape prior to us launching Argent was so bare boned, you know?
Hmm. I read that about the car industry also, which is of course extremely male dominated with few exceptions. And like people say, why is there no great place to put a handbag in a car?
I mean, the list goes on and on across all industries. It's
Yeah.
healthcare, it's car, it's fashion, it's literally every industry. The investments have been made with men in mind. Well, that's what's so exciting about having female founders. And like when women are addressing things that are personal pain points, that's like where the magic happens.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Healthcare. I mean, great, huge, massive example and under investment in women's health. Okay. So one of the things that I would love to talk to you about is fundraising for the business. Apparel, of course, is a relatively capital intensive category in the consumer space, a lot of inventory sizes and things that you had to deal with from early on. How did you approach that?
So I'll say that I have three things working against me: female founded, female focused apparel. Like those are three things that no one should want when they're going out to fundraise.
Right. Great
With that,
point.
with that said, fashion has a high barrier to entry as well. To match the vision and size of what I wanted to build, it was necessary that we brought on funding.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
For sure.
like, we're building a big business. This is a big opportunity. And so from day one, I think that I had my sights set on something very ambitious, and that remains the case today. And I think you have to live in like multiple realities as a founder. And so with that vision in mind, I first raised under a convertible note a pretty small amount, just to get the idea off the ground. And that allowed us to achieve product market fit at that conference that I mentioned, which allowed me to then raise more money, because that was a really great proof of concept,
Mm-hmm.
to bring on a bit more money. And then raised a bridge. Both instruments allow for you to raise money and spend it versus doing like a price round.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward a few years into the journey, raised a seed round, then our Series A, Series B. So, I've gone through various stages of funding. The decision to fundraise is more so because, I mean, it's a lot of things. It's what I talked about earlier, which is I have big goals for Argent. Each stage, I think, represents a different milestone. But I think what's confusing to a lot of people that I talk to is success actually requires more money. So like the more successful that you are, that becomes expensive in a consumer business with a product
Yeah,
that you're having to pay for, up
definitely.
front. And so I think a lot of it is with success, we've been able to just move into different stages of raising. In terms of how I've approached it, I'm just atypical, I think, in that I don't follow what's like best practice, what's recommended, here's what you have to do. I think so many people are quick to tell you what you have to do, who you have to talk to. And I was very quick to just like throw all of that out, all of that advice, because to me, it was like, no, I have a lot more ownership over this, how I can structure this, and I'm just going to dictate. And I'm sure that in and of itself is entrepreneurial, but fundraising is not an ecosystem made for women. It's not designed for women. And so I think there's a lot of flawed advice that's thrown our way with business building and fundraising specifically. And so I think I was quick to recognize that I just need to do this my own way. Where our sweet spot is with like family offices, value aligned investors,
Mhm.
strategic investors, and individuals who they're additive, and they add value to what we're building, and they reflect our core values and my core values. And that has been so lucky, I would say, because it's a different way of building a business that I think enhances what we have built and what we continue to build.
Right. Really having that support around the table. I think that one thing you said reminds me of one of the taglines that I've seen Argent use, which is ambition suits you. Beautiful. And when you talk about, of course, for you as the founder, the big ambition that you have for the business, it definitely suits you, Sally. I love it. I think, like in my observation, to build on the point around fundraising, you raise a great point around the three strikes going against you. I feel like you are one of the most effective fundraisers that I have had the opportunity to work with over the years. Can you tell us more about how you think and what you've learned um, over time to build those types of relationships effectively and productively?
Yeah, I think that it starts with a clear end goal and like end state. So I've always known exactly where I want Argent to be 5 to 10 years out. Like we want to be the workwear authority. our mission is removing barriers for women. I've been unapologetic in our goals and in the opportunity. In terms of fundraising, I'd say I wasted a lot of time early days meeting with people that were absolute no's from the start that today I would not waste my time on. And so early days, I'd, jump on a plane. Oh, I'm going to be in Portland, Oregon. Can you meet tomorrow? So I'll do anything that's probably perceived as a little crazy. And I was just willing to do whatever it took. And I still am willing to do whatever it takes for Argent to succeed. Women having Argent is my driving force. Like, I think women deserve Argent. Argent has not existed. I have seen it transform the experiences that women are having out in the world. And so because of my commitment to that, I will not let cash be a limiter for us. I mean, I'll find it and I'll find the right people. As I mentioned, early days, I was probably wasting time and spending more time on it than I did, fast forward 5 to 7 years in. I have become much more confident and much more equipped to recognize who's actually interested, whether or not it's a fit. I've walked away from people who have wanted to give us capital that are not values aligned. Like, I've invested more time in fundraising, and it has benefited me immensely to have done that. I think now, on a Series B, which is a more sizable round, that's where you could call into question some of my choices, because we never have like check minimums. We'll take tiny checks, we'll cobble it together, but we also have big checks. So it's that combination. But we are at a stage where I have to be really protective of my time. And so I think that I've gotten good about being direct, being efficient, being straightforward, and presenting the ask upon first conversation, sometimes first meeting, what have you. And my number one skill is networking, connecting with people, and just finding opportunities that I think are like mutually beneficial. We're also benefiting now at this stage from having very clear product market fit and really compelling unit economics. And like, you can see the scale and the growth and the trajectory now. And we've done the hard part. But I think I had to really work hard to paint that picture and get people to go on this journey with me. And when I meet with founders, like early stage founders, that first raise, that's my sweet spot. That's what I can coach people on, which is it needs to be catered to the individual that you're meeting with. You need to understand what their priorities are. What are their goals? What are they looking for? Is it someone who's really analytical, or is it someone that's wanting to connect more with the emotional piece of it? And no two pitches are the same. And I also think that you give your 1-minute vision and you allow for questions, and you can take it in any direction, and you have to be the expert on your business. And you have to tell me no, and you have to tell me no multiple times. I've had people tell me no that 5 years later invested. I'm pretty like maniacal in that way, maybe.
So on that point, I don't know if you will remember this, but I remember one time, maybe 5 years ago or so, you and I were having a conversation about different investors that you had spoken with. And you said something which stuck with me. And you said, Tina, I don't hear no. And I love that. That is grit. I want to understand where that comes from, Sally.
It's a great question. Has that gotten me into trouble sometimes? For sure. Where that gets me into trouble is if I push something through that is high friction on the business side, that requires resources on our team, and we pursue this initiative that's almost like failed from the start, right? It's not always like a winning quality. It is what you want in an entrepreneur that you're investing in, though, I will say. Where does it come from? It comes from my deep belief, not only in what we're building, but also in who we're like serving. Like, to me, I'm of service to our customer, to our community, and to women. And I think because of that, I also recognize that I've learned a lot about people. More than anything in building Argent, I've learned about people, and people is like the unlock. It's the investment, it's the customer, it's the team, it's, external vendors, it's everything. And so I think realizing what makes people tick, and sometimes people are saying no without really going on that journey and like understanding your vision. And so I think for me, I'm like bought into whatever it is that I'm pitching being mutually beneficial. And I think I'm always looking for things that are mutually beneficial. And if I hear a no from someone and it doesn't quite feel right, I'll keep pursuing it. And oftentimes it definitely works to my advantage where and to theirs, like they'll come on board at some point and then it all makes sense. But I think it's like conviction.
Yeah, I think that you bring an extraordinary amount of conviction to your work. Again, it is so impressive and so inspirational. Do you ever, one more question on this, and then we'll talk about the business and your team. Like, how do you psych yourself up? Entrepreneurship, there's ups, there's downs. How do you maintain your energy?
I have become like more woo-woo than I ever thought I would be. There are days that are good and there are days that are hard. There are weeks that are good. There are weeks that are hard. There are things that will happen that will like flip luck in my favor. And then I'm like, I need to send every single email. I need to I'll get all my asks out now. And then I have to be comfortable taking a back seat when it doesn't feel like it's going my way. And there are like real moments in time that feel that way. And I think every entrepreneur that would resonate with, everyone, entrepreneur or not. My energy comes from the women that we dress for sure. And I think this is the wisdom that I hope to like pass on to all founders, which is like, it is absolutely impossibly hard. We've glamorized what it means to be an entrepreneur. It's sleepless nights. It's working all the time. It's always being on. It's people really having no boundaries with you and encroaching on your free time, your family time, whatever it is. It's boxes getting lost, money getting stolen. I mean, the hardship is impossible to articulate and only like founders really understand it. With that said, anytime I need to be excited or enthusiastic, I go into that well of like customer. Every single day, I'm getting pictures, texts, testimonials from people. And that is like lifeblood to me. And it's like sometimes it's a team check-in and to remind ourselves of where we were even like a year ago. Every single year, we're making such massive progress. And so knowing how valuable like what we're doing is for customers, how important it is to them. And, they'll basically tell you as much that we're like a necessary resource. That's my driving force.
That
It's
makes
fun.
sense. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen you in the store interacting with customers. It's terrific.
You hear a lot about people talking about like you start a company and then you create like an email for your assistant. You try and make it look bigger than it is and blah, 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 blah. I think I've never been above being customer service. I still see everything. And we're a much bigger business now than we were, but I'm looking at everything. I think that surprises people. Can I see every single sale? No, but am I looking all the time? Yes. And I once saw someone say, if you have a founder in your life, just be nice to them. And like, that really like resonated with me because I don't think people realize just how in it like true founders are and how committed we are and how important every single sale is, no matter the size. Like everything just matters so much to founders and it's not that hard to like show up for them. And definitely don't be mean to them. But that really like spoke to me and felt so kind because I think that, it is a really grueling journey.
Very grueling. So tell us more about what a typical, as I'm sure there are none, but what your days look like today.
We're in a good place. I think there's an art to building a consumer-facing brand that I really invested. It's time. It's like absolutely tied to time. You cannot shortcut it with money. You cannot shortcut it like in any way, shape, or form. It takes time and authentic decision making and sacrifices for I think it's 10 years. Like I really do think like maybe 9 years. Last year we really hit our stride. We did have COVID in the middle of that, but it takes time to really iterate on your offering and get all the elements of it to come together. We're in a good place now where I feel like I have a team. I'm not like packing boxes. Like we have a team that can do a lot of, the internal facing work, the operational work. So my days are no 2 days the same, but typically I wake up, come into the office. The team's in the office 3 days a week. I'm usually in here 5 days a week. I'll pop over to our Soho store a lot because our office is close to our Soho store. So that's like a fun thing to just see how people are engaging with the brand. I'll start my day with emails. I'm definitely being controlled by my emails more than I want to be, but I try and spend as much time as I can clearing my mind and focusing on vision and where we're going and being strategic. and I'm not at all a micromanager. So I like to just like have experts in each field and then work more on strategy long term, and then just sort of like making sure I'm course correcting team members that are more heads down. I'm doing more external facing stuff now. So like, more podcasts, more traveling, more just meeting with external, partners and
Mhm.
media and stuff like that. So I think I've graduated into probably a more traditional CEO role and less internal focused. Kids on the front and kids on the back end. So trying to fit
Right.
kids in, some point.
There are two things I'm interested to ask you about. One is when you started the company, we were still in that DTC era. I'm curious how you thought about that, what you learned from it, given that, of course, the business looks much, much different today than a lot of these companies did in the 2010s.
Oh boy, I have a lot of thoughts about this. For me, I was a slower builder and I've always been focused on brand and longevity. So I made a lot of revenue trade-offs. So the bad would be that I didn't invest in Facebook early days because I didn't think that
Mm.
we were ready for that traffic. But there was an absolute arbitrage opportunity for D2C brands in the 2010 to 2015 range, 20,
Mhm.
even like to 2018 maybe,
Yeah.
where the economics of investing in performance marketing were so compelling, and I didn't fully invest because I didn't feel like we were ready for it. And so we did it like in a limited capacity, but I think I've been more focused, and I have watched so many brands come and go and like really come and go because venture was
Yeah.
very obsessed about dumping money into consumer facing brands. I've always been a bit scrappier, a bit slower moving, and more iterative and intentional than a lot of my peer group. And that's benefiting us now. So now, like when I say that my days are much easier, it's because we've now graduated into the science of brand building, and we have the foundational elements,
Mhm.
and we have the right product offering, we have the right branding, we know how to build a store, we have the right team, the timing is right. So all of those elements just don't come together overnight. And so there are a lot of examples of brands that like petered out along the way, some very recently that I started with. Do you know what I'm talking about? And so I'm very excited because I think that now we're in a place where it's like the scaling piece is actually more straightforward. What's harder is to have the patience to scale when at the right time, and not doing it prematurely, because if you don't invest in the brand and have a very clear vision on what you're building, it's impossible to go back. And we've had a lot of big brands that copy us and still copy us, but it feels very inauthentic.
Mhm.
And ours is like at our core very authentic. And now the scaling part is more straightforward and much easier, in my opinion.
Mhm. I understand what you mean. Look, I'm gonna say one that was just in the news, which is Allbirds, which
Oh,
started similar time. Again,
the same
just look
week, Dina,
the
the
same week.
same week.
Wow. Okay. I look at it and I think it was, a sneaker that was fine, but was particularly beloved by tech bros, right? And so they thought this must be the greatest thing, as tech bros do. And so then you had like Tiger Global investing like hundreds of millions of dollars in this sneaker brand. And then of course it was recently announced that they're selling it for 39 million bucks or something, which is just against a over $1 billion peak valuation. So I feel like that's kind of a poster child for that, I guess, grow at all costs, raise as much money as possible approach for a apparel footwear brand. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a really great example of a company built on a product and a lot of money. And there's a way, like,
Mhm.
money is everything in our world. I can buy eyeballs with money. I've never had that
Yeah.
luxury, but like, if you have that amount of money at your disposal when you're building a company, it's easy to spend and at a loss and
Great point.
capture a customer. uh, I do think that there's been a huge reckoning because of companies like Allbirds, and not to say they didn't make money for themselves and for a lot of their investors. Like they had, in a lot of ways, they were a successful story that's now, ended in failure. But I do think that that's a good example of a company that did not take the time to invest in brand building and longevity and like didn't have a clear vision of what they were building. I don't think it was really product based, and that's where it peters out.
That's a great point, right? I think it was a great, like, I think an initial strong product that was innovative, this wool sneaker, and again had a big fan base. But I felt like beyond that, it was a lot more of a push strategy with aggressive marketing, store openings, IPO, versus that pull of really building the core brand love that is more sustainable.
I think also like um the fashion industry is a challenging one, but it is one that I have respected since launch, where it's like,
Mhm.
I'm learning as much as I can from this industry as all industries. So like, why is the landscape the way that it is now? And I've touched on that earlier with working women. It's, a lot of our competitors, a lot of the incumbents, all male-led brands. And so to me, I don't think that anyone's really been innovative with the product, but what can I learn from fashion and what can I learn from having a creative counterpart? And how do we bring our experiences together to really innovate the piece that I shouldn't own, which is the product piece? But
Mhm.
how do I take my wisdom and like, collaborate with a team that has a background entirely in design, entirely in development, entirely in fashion? And that to me is like where the magic happens. And how do I hold the vision of we're a resource for working women, period. We're here to remove barriers for working women, period. We're rooted in this physical product that has to be excellent. And then how do I learn from, companies that have done it before, what their distribution strategy is, where I spend money, where I don't, what the right investments are and when, how do I build out the infrastructure, et cetera. And so I think that it's like, you can't look at any one thing, and that's what makes it so hard. You have to look at it holistically and you have to
Yeah,
build it out intentionally with a clear vision.
really crucial time, which is COVID. So I think there cannot have been a more challenging business to be in than women's workwear during COVID. And many companies doing similar things did not make it through, but you all did. And, now much stronger on the other side of it. Like, tell us more about that.
Well, I've blacked it out, so nothing to discuss.
I get it.
uh,
I get it.
yeah, I mean, we were experiencing our biggest months ever, early 2020. I think consumer was doing really well. We were
Yeah.
preparing to raise our Series A and felt really well positioned to do that. And I was 8.5 months pregnant, and COVID happened, and I was really aggressive in my decision making. I went lean essentially overnight, got out of all of our store leases, all of our leases, period. And I think my personal situation was a forcing function for me to be a bit more aggressive. I also
Mhm.
tend to be, I can sort of see around corners. And to me, it was obvious that this was not like a 2 week to 1 month shutdown. This was when brands were making these like 2 week store announcements and then we'll reopen. And so because I
Yeah.
was aggressive, I stopped production. I was allowed out of leases that people were not being allowed out of 2 weeks later.
Mm.
And I was able to like conserve my cash, quickly connect with our investors. We had to raise a bridge just to survive COVID. And then I pivoted a partnership that we had. We had a hot pink suit that we pivoted into a voting partnership we launched in October of 2020 that ended up going viral. And in one day, we made our year. It was the biggest campaign we have ever
Wow.
run, that we will ever run. And I took it as an opportunity to just sit back and learn from all of my mistakes and failures, and intentionally made the decision to survive because I knew that around the corner of COVID was going to be delayed consumerism, and was it proven right. Coming out of COVID, we have seen cities come back online at different times. And because we didn't pivot and didn't try and be like a loungewear solution or, something that we at our core were
Mhm.
not, we didn't come out of COVID flat-footed. We came out like ready to go, and suiting was trending in such a big way. It's still trending. And so we've been riding that. The good news is when it trends, our business is doing great. When it doesn't trend, our business is still doing great because we're catering to a woman that's like forgotten about on those fashion cycles and trends. And so I'd say like just this year, we've probably finally caught up with the demand and like are still scaling the business, but
Wow.
it's taken time.
Wow. That is really interesting. Definitely you had great foresight into where it was all going. Tell us about team building. How do you approach that? What have you learned over this past decade?
The best advice I ever got was from Howard Schultz in 2015 pre-launch. I had the opportunity to go to Seattle and meet with him. He was so generous, gave me 2 hours of
Wow.
his time. And
Wow.
I just got connected to him through an investor, but he's like a lifelong learner and sees the value, I think, in entrepreneurs and wants to hear from them and learn from them. I respect that so much. And now I understand
Yeah.
why. Like I meet with young founders like Nick from August.
Yeah.
Um, I find Nick to be one of the most brilliant people that I know, and he's Gen Z, and he's introducing me to concepts and technologies that I don't think I would have awareness of otherwise. So, like, I understand how that can be such a gift. But had the chance to go meet with him, and he said, the advice that I'll give you is to be really careful about who you hire and to ensure that they're not looking at you as a paycheck. They're looking at this opportunity in the same way that you are and are able to convince you of their passion and are doing it for the right reasons. And so I was like, cool, 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 Howard, what do you know? Like, no, not intentionally, but I think that's like one of those that I did have to
Yeah.
learn the hard way. And so then I would hire fast, fire slowly. I'd project my passion onto people. It's very isolating and lonely to build something like this. And so you want people in your corner. And so I think I made all the wrong choices early days. Coming out of COVID, I'd learned those lessons. And so now I realize that if there's ever someone, external vendor or internally, that I'm changing my habits for or trying to like prioritize their happiness or what have you, they need to go. It's not going to work out. I hire much slower now. We have a pretty robust hiring process. We have multiple people that have to talk to people. We're looking for expertise and not opportunistically. And we have the best team that we've ever had, and they've all been here since post-COVID. Like we just have a really excellent team, and we're hiring for excellence. And if it's not working out, they're gone quickly, which sounds callous, but it's the best outcome for all parties. Always is.
Mhm. Mhm. No, that definitely makes sense. I think that what's interesting about in your business is going back to this art and science point. You've got folks in business roles, but then also on the design side, and so really having to be able to work effectively with the different skill sets and talents is really important in your role. Okay, you're in New York now and have been in New York for a while, but I think that when you first launched Argent, you were in San Francisco and then you were in Los Angeles for a period of time also. I would love to get your impressions on building in those different ecosystems.
I think that it is part of the magic of what we're building is that I have had experiences working in a lot of different cities, and I recognize the consistent pain points and then the differing pain points and needs of each environment. All of these cities have different industries within them, different cultures, different needs. And so, launch from San Francisco. Argent's always had a New York presence because our creative team's always been here. We've done a lot of manufacturing here. We still do some manufacturing here. We have partners that we've worked with since 2015, and they're remarkable. Like, we couldn't have done this without them. And that's a whole conversation in and of itself, is just getting those like first partners that believe in you.
Mhm, mhm.
But yeah, launched from San Francisco, moved to Los Angeles because it is more of a fashion city, and I was thinking about team and, scale. And then COVID happened, and we not only went lean, but we moved home to South Carolina for a year
Oh,
and
yeah.
we moved from there to New York, kind of still in COVID, but New York recovered quicker. And so we thought, like, let's rebuild from New York. Let's have our entire team in New York. And that is probably something I was late on doing and should have done sooner. I always should have been in New York, really, because for what we're building, it's the best city to be in. But I think that we were able to learn from all of those other steps on the journey, and the timing worked out for when we came here. So I wouldn't change anything, but I do think I've learned a lot. And now I have the benefit of having relationships in all of those major cities that are top 5, 10 cities for us in terms of
Yeah.
revenue and, yeah, reach.
Mm. So, what is on your mind today on the business side of Argent? What are your priorities?
Distribution is a big one. Accelerating, basically converting. I think we've done a really good job of awareness, and now it's converting awareness. That's a big priority for us this year. Our quality is excellent. So we have seen our peers downgrade quality and increase prices, and we've done neither of those things. So we've kept our quality in a really premium place because we're predominantly a direct-to-consumer brand, and we're not at the mercy of a wholesale margin. And then we've also not changed our pricing too much or at all. We haven't really done either of those things. And because of that, and because of what we stand for and the climate that we're in and just where we are in our life cycle, I'm really focused on scale without compromising our values. And with scale comes the opportunity to have more of an impact for our customer, to platform more women, to normalize like what power looks like, and to really initiate change. Distribution, so getting the product physically in front of women is a priority. We just launched Rent the Runway, which has been really successful. We launched with Bloomingdale's. We'll launch with other wholesalers as we build out our store footprint. So stores really are our crown jewel. And so continuing to build out stores at a pace that we can sustain, and just figuring out how do we get the product physically in front of our customer. I think fashion tends to work two ways. You either have brands that have great photography and the quality falls flat in person, or you have, fine photography, but the product's better in person. We are that group. Like our product's better than we're able to really capture. The quality is so good. And so figuring out just how to get it in front of our customer and, convert.
In your perfect world, where else would you love to open Argent stores? What are attractive markets for you and your customer?
Oh, what a loaded question. I mean, I'm desperate to get, to all major cities and secondary cities. Secondary cities are really overlooked and ignored. And I think that's like so on brand for us, is to find markets that are ignored. So I think there's an opportunity for us to go abroad. London excites me a lot. We definitely see a lot of traffic coming from abroad, Middle East and Europe, into our New York stores, especially. Actually, DC gets them too. I mean, I see a ton of potential. I'm mostly focused on domestic opportunity, I would say. But I see a ton of potential for expansion for sure.
What's the all-time most popular item?
The straight leg trouser, can't keep it in stock, and the Chelsea blazer in seasonless wool.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't realize a trouser would be so high. I figured it'd be a blazer.
No, straight leg trouser. It's like we've sold like thousands and thousands and thousands, and we can't keep it in stock.
And tell what makes it special.
The quality is unbeatable. The fit is exceptional. It's where we have the most success is when like women in fashion are wearing it, and like a lawyer in Oklahoma is wearing it, and it has that full range of appeal. And so, and there's sort of a nod to what's happening in fashion, and then it's also accessible for someone who's not paying attention to that. The fit though is undeniably good. We had someone in yesterday that I went over to meet that's a pretty high profile person that struggles to find trousers that fit, and was like, everything looks good on me. I don't understand this experience. That's consistent with what we see with customers all the time. But it's because we invest in the quality of the fabric, the quality of production, and it's at an accessible price point, which is intentional. Like we want this to be something that, maybe it's an expensive choice for certain people, but it's still accessible enough, and the cost per wear are going to make it worth it. I don't want it to be at an alienating price point.
I mean, I think there's tremendous opportunity given how much prices in fashion broadly have gone up over the past 3 to 5 years.
Totally. And I now understand it. I think fashion gets a bad rap. It's expensive to be in this business. The fabric costs have gone up. Customs have gone, obviously we're paying more in tariffs. It's more expensive across the board, and to make sustainable choices, which, align with the times, in my opinion, it's expensive. So we should be paying more for garments than what we've normalized through fast fashion. And that's the leading pollutant, in the world. And so, there is a bit of I think a learning hurdle there where there is a bit of a disconnect between values and shopping decisions that we're making.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, switching gears, what would you be doing if you weren't running Argent?
I have more ideas in me. I really like the funeral afterlife industry, so I think there's something there for me.
Interesting.
Mhm. Um I love all things gender equity. I
Mhm.
love policy. It's a weird time, but I really like policy and like long-term change, and I like to be like a behind the scenes role in that.
Hmm.
Something with women most likely. I could do I love everything. I don't know, it's hard to say. Every time the NBA, I just met with someone who leads Impact at the NBA and I was like, "Please give me a job."
Whoa, that's so
Um
cool.
I have
Would
a
you
lot of passions.
would you ever consider running for an elected office?
No.
No? I think you'd be so good at it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That is my nightmare.
See, this is the problem.
Yeah, true, fair. Thank you. But yes, no, much more, I think, actually, and I don't know if you remember this, I was very reluctant to put my face and like likeness on Argent because it is about who
Uh,
we're dressing. And I was so excited to just elevate our community. And you can see we've built this Work Friends franchise and we do like peer recognition and we
yeah.
do all of these things to elevate the women that we dress. And there's been such a demand for, but we want to know who's behind it. And I think this is a struggle of female founders, but like they want to hear from me or the founder.
Mm,
And I'm a very private person. And I think
I
that's like
see.
it's an interesting thing to like dissect for women because we also have a tendency to build up female founders, especially, and then tear them down, but women in general. But I think for me, I'm going to prioritize like Argent and whatever needs to be done. But this has been, more of a reluctant path than
Hmm.
maybe some people.
That's interesting. Okay, so maybe we end on this question. What is your advice for female founders?
Not to give up your power. There are so many people that are quick to tell you that you're not the expert on what you're building or business, or you need whatever it is they're going to tell you. And that's going to be something that multiple people are going to reinforce because we are within a patriarchy. What has been invaluable to me is having one person that I respect believe in me. And if you have one person, you can overcome everything else. So you find that person or you find that group of people, and that's what allows you to survive and stay focused and not give up. I know so many women that have built incredible brands that are honestly like profitable pretty quickly. And there's so much flawed advice they get early on.
Mhm.
You also have to listen to your gut. That's happened for me over time. And so don't outsource the creative of something when you're not aligned, and don't give up, don't give in to other people telling you, oh, that's just how it's done. You have to do it this way, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of the innovation and magic happens in you following your gut and being true to like what your vision is. And that took me years to get to.
I love that, Sally. Well, that is terrific advice. Thank you so much for your sharing your time and your wisdom. It has really been incredible to hear your story. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for just being on this journey. I've told you this countless times, but I feel like it should be recorded. You have an ability to see art and science of brands, and you have vision in a way that honestly hardly anyone does. And I'm so grateful that you've been on this journey with me.
Thank you. That means so much. You made my day. Thank you, Sally. If you liked this episode, find more on Spotify and check us out on YouTube and Instagram, where we share highlights of our conversations.